everyone, welcome to Creating Content During and After the Pandemic. I feel like after the crisis hit, we have to be a little bit delicate about how we post and what we post about, and I'm really excited to have this conversation today. I am Paola Mendez, and I am the founder of the Blogger Union. And I think most of the people in the call I've seen on previous webinars, but just in case, let me tell you a little bit about the Blogger Union. It's a network of blogger communities dedicated to growing our members' brands and incomes through meetups and workshops. And we have local communities across the US. I run the South Florida bloggers here in the Miami area, but we also have the DC bloggers, the New York City bloggers, Minneapolis bloggers, Houston bloggers, Orlando bloggers, and a ton of other cities. So if you'd like to check them out, you should go to thebloggerunion.com. And my personal site is Coral Gables Love if you'd like to follow me there. All right, I'm really excited to introduce our speaker today. She is the leading expert of digital marketing in South Florida. She has a master's degree in digital marketing from the University of San Francisco and a certificate of social media from the University of Harvard. Very impressive. She's also worked with a ton of Fortune 500 companies working on their social media strategy for over the past 20 years, including MTV, Comedy Central, NBA, Macy's, and a ton of others. Please help me welcome Carol. Hi, Carol. How are you today? Oh, wait, I'm so sorry. You're on mute. Let me unmute you. There you go.
There, okay. This is like the eternal meme, right? Being on mute on Zoom.
Exactly. So welcome. Would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself?
For sure, and so happy to be here. This has been kind of like in the plan for a long time. So thank you, Paola, for arranging all this and for making it happen. And for everyone that is joining the call. So my name is Carol Bardazano. I am, my passion is digital marketing and how to help people utilize digital marketing in a professional way to actually drive real results. So there is a difference between being popular in digital and in social media than being profitable. So what I teach is that I basically tell people how to use all these channels, all the 7 digital marketing channels, including social media, to build a business and to eventually that helps them build a life they love and more flexibility, and all that comes with having a business that they're passionate about and that actually gives them something in return. So I do my company, The Digital Buzz, which you can follow me. The handle is @The Digital Buzz. I basically provide tips, insights, the latest news, and whenever we have upcoming trainings. Just so you guys know, in maybe like a couple of months, I'm going to be doing a training about the algorithm. It's going to be actually a free training, which we usually don't do, but we really want people to understand how to work with the algorithm for better results. So if you follow me on my page, you'll be notified as soon as that training goes live. Which is going to be very exciting because we have so many insights straight from Facebook and Instagram that you wouldn't even believe it. It's going to be epic.
Oh, I'm definitely signing up for that.
For sure. So here we are to talk about this thing that doesn't go away and that has transformed our lives.
Absolutely. But before we start getting specific into the pandemic, why don't we back up a little bit? And can you tell us what is a social media strategy and why do we need one?
Right. So a social media strategy is basically deciding what you're going to communicate and in what platforms and for what target audience. It's not just having an Instagram for having an Instagram. It's first deciding, okay, are you going to have a business page, or are you going to have a personal page, or are you going to have a theme page? There's 3 types of pages, business pages that you can have on Instagram or on Facebook or on TikTok or all the other platforms. You have to decide what kind of business you want to have. Then you have to decide who you're going to talk to. It's important to understand it's not going to work if you think that you're going to be mainstream, because social media works better when you are more niche and when you have more personality and when you have more identity than just being very vanilla. because there's vanilla is more of a mainstream media like television and radio and movies, whereas social media works better if you're in a niche. And the third thing is that you have to decide what you want to accomplish from the platform. So do you want to increase your fame or your popularity? Do you want to sell? Do you want to establish your authority? Do you want to basically maybe support local businesses? What do you want the platform to do for you? So that is what we call like the basics of doing a social media strategy. And you need one for whatever it is that you decide to do, because that's where people spend the most time on social media, especially now. The level of engagement and the level of a frequency of social media has increased 40% since the pandemic started. So imagine that everyone is there all the time. So yeah, we absolutely need one, and that's what a social media strategy is, versus just, oh, I have a social media, and then you go in and the last post was 2 months ago and it's like of me in a bikini, and I happen to be a realtor and it has nothing to do with my face. So it's important to understand what you want to accomplish from the platform and work backwards.
Definitely. So in terms of social media strategy, figuring out your goals is huge. Can you tell us a little bit more about how you decide what it is that you want to do with your platform?
Right. So social media, the number one goal that people use in social media, because it's what social media does best, is brand awareness. It's basically, hey guys, I exist. I'm here. There's a presence. So let's say you're a food blogger and you're not technically going to generate direct sales the way that you would generate from Google Ads, right? You go in and you search, for delivery of vegan food, and you buy from it directly. Whereas in social media, it takes a little longer. I always make the analogy in social media that it's like dating. When you go on a first date, you're not going to talk baby names with the person, because that person is going to run the other way. You have to groom them first. So that's what we call brand awareness. You have to get to know me. This is what I'm about. Do you like me? Do you like what my brand represents? Do you like the essence of the product that I offer, whether it's a service or a product? And then eventually that is going to lead into business. But social media really is very good at getting the name out there and at having presence. So that's the main goal that people use. You have other goals that social media is good at once you have established the brand awareness and you have actually provided value. So again, for conversions, for sales, and to get clients is also, it's also a good platform, but you have to have done the previous work of, again, like grooming that date. You can start talking baby names maybe after like a year of a relationship, or maybe 6 months, or maybe 2 years, depending on the guy or the girl. But you want to do that work first. And then customer service, huge. Social media is amazing for customer service and for to connect directly with those people in a way that you would never be able to do through a website. Somebody talks, on a website the way that you would talk on social media, which is like friend to friend.
Right. It's much more personable.
Exactly. There's a person behind every single account. You're not talking to a building. So you have to keep that, colloquial kind of way of talking, because that's the most human brand. Really is the brand that wins on Instagram.
Absolutely. You have to talk how your people talk.
Exactly.
So authentically.
Exactly.
All right. So let's start getting into the nitty gritty.
Okay.
We talked a little bit about social media strategy. So can you tell us a little bit of how your content has changed from before the pandemic to today, that we really are in the midst of the pandemic? We haven't gotten over it and we're still in it. And people might be getting a little anxious about the pandemic. Tell us what are your thoughts?
So the content evolution during the pandemic for social media has gone through like a wave. When it first started, a lot of people didn't know what to post. A lot of brand accounts, a lot of even personal accounts, influencers. Some people decided to pretend nothing was happening. So you had influencers unboxing Chanel bags as people were getting laid off. And they got a lot of flack for that, for being very tone deaf and insensitive to what other people were going through. Then you had people just only talking about that. And it even happened on mainstream media. If you saw all those commercials with the piano and like, you know, the basically like it was like Ford and Amazon and Coke and everything had the same like structure for the commercials, whereas it got to a point where it was too much. And those commercials are now no longer on the air anymore because again, it was so excessive that it stopped. Now, what happened was that a lot of people and the people that have accounts is that you had to really address the issue head on. You had to lead with empathy with what everyone was going through. It wasn't going to go away. So first talking about it and creating content with the backdrop of the pandemic was really key, especially during that first month and a half. And then adjusting, and
I think at that point it was critical to, I mean, it's going to be critical throughout the whole time, but just finding ways of being empathetic and helpful for your community, right? Because we have these platforms and it's the perfect way to disseminate information and amplify important messages that we're experiencing during the crisis.
Exactly. So what's happening now, it's interesting because I was reading an article this week that people are going through a little bit of, exhaustion and blindness with the pandemic messages because people are really, this has been a tough year for all of us. So they are craving a little bit more of aspirational content, and they're craving more of, of a messaging of hope of what's going to happen afterwards. So the need of talking only about the pandemic as it was a month and a half ago is no longer the case. So we're sort of shifting into, yes, we're in a pandemic, but it's also driving us into, okay, we're going to have to make it work. Like whatever, if we have to work virtually, then we have to make the best of it. So this digital transformation is what we're going to call the new normal, right? If working from home for the rest of the year is what's going to take place, then how can I help my audience go through that? Those working moms or those, depending on your target audience, I think you have to first start, okay, is my target audience at home working with kids that don't have camp? Because those people I know are going crazy. Or is my target audience getting laid off? Or is my target audience just graduating from college and very frustrated that they cannot find work because they're in the worst year to find a job? So it varies so much depending on who's your community on social media.
Absolutely. I think it changes so much depending on who are your people. And
exactly.
I think it's also a great opportunity for you to find out what they are struggling with and for you to create content that are going to solve those problems for them, which is something that we should do on a regular basis, right? We know our people and we know that maybe, for example, they want to try a new restaurant. So I am looking for new restaurants for them to try on a regular day. But once the pandemic hit, for example, people in my area were looking for activities for children at home. They were Googling that because they didn't know how to keep their kids entertained because everyone shut down.
Right.
So I saw a lot of response for that type of content in my personal blog.
There you go.
Because, I was helping the people in my community and solving something that we were struggling with.
Right.
So absolutely.
Yes. And let me give you a tip. The best way to know what people are struggling with is to spend some time doing social listening. And social listening is basically fancy words for saying spying. Go to your competitor's page and see what comments they are doing on the post of your competitors. Because that is it. Not just on your competitors, definitely do your page. But let's say if you're starting out and you don't have a lot of comments, a lot of engagements, for sure to see what people are commenting on your competitors' post, because that really tells you what is their mindset and what is it that they're struggling with and what is it that's sparking an emotion for them. It gives you so many ideas of what content you should be creating by doing that.
Absolutely. Social listening is super important. I think listening to your competitors and trying to see what's going on over there is really important. But we also already have people who are following us, and they are following us already, so they're on board. They like what you're doing. So if you want to socially listen, you can find a few of those followers that are already on board with what you're doing, and
Yeah.
spying their accounts to see maybe they're probably airing out all that they're struggling with right now.
Oh,
So
for sure, for sure. Something else that I like to do is that, you know, that sticker that has the multiple choice and stories, to put to a story and say, what do you need help with? What is your biggest challenge right now? And put all those answers to see what people respond to. Whenever I don't know what content I should create, or even what training I should come up with, it is so insightful, and you'd be surprised how people love to give their opinions. And they love to do polls. So definitely use that, because you know, if you have like 4 different ideas, you're like, I'm just going to ask people. People love to
right.
participate.
That's also a great tip. Other places where I find where my people are airing their complaints, especially because mine is a geographical niche,
Right.
uh, is like Facebook groups where people in town are joining and they're asking questions about things. But there's all Facebook groups about absolutely everything. So if you're a mom blogger, you should definitely join communities where they're not specifically mom bloggers, but they're just moms. And
Absolutely.
they are sharing tips and advice amongst them. And just those questions that they ask, those are the type of questions that you should be trying to answer with your content.
For sure, for sure. I love the Facebook groups to find out some insights. Also, hashtag research, going to those hashtags and see what else people are posting about related to that hashtag, to those content hashtags that are related to a particular hashtag. Also gives you a lot of ideas.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Great. So you
Well,
guys got a bunch of tips there to figure out how you can help your communities. But let's talk a little bit about advertising. So I know we have a few business owners here, and then sometimes, you know, as influencers, sometimes we have a campaign that we're working with a brand, and or we might boost our own posts to get more engagement on social media. How do you feel about advertising during the pandemic? Um,
That's a great question. Before I answer that, I want to say, don't ever boost a post again unless you like to give away money to Facebook, because it's not the best way to actually drive results for your post. You want to do it through Ads Manager, which is available to every single business account. There's so many more capabilities that you can do. You can optimize your posts, and your reach is going to be far better than just boosting. So let's start with that. I do a class once a year about that for people that really want to learn how to do it right. But definitely, I hate to see business owners waste money, because then they're like, oh, it didn't create anything. That's because you boosted it. And boosting is started more of a, like, you know, like for a mom and pop shop, because Ads Manager is a little more complex. But once you get into it, it's really not that difficult. But going back to the question, advertising, yeah, you have to be sensitive depending on the time that you are advertising things. Like 2 weeks ago, last week was a little sensitive. Now ads are starting to come up again, but you have to take that temperature and see where people are at, so that you don't fall on deaf ears. People are starting to normalize as much as they can. So advertising, again, depending what product. So I find it interesting when I get ads about, you know, like a gown to go to a gala. It's like, we don't even have parties. Why, you know, like I'll get something from like Neiman Marcus or something. I'm like, why are you advertising this? Who knows when we're going to be able to go out? So it really also depends on your product. But if you have, you know, something that like yoga wear, or something to do sports, or maybe even like, you know, let's say you're a blogger and you provide recipes for vegan food. That's also super interesting and helpful because a lot of people are cooking at home. So you have to think about something that is also in line with what's happening, not completely, opposites to the reality that people are living with. But I'm seeing a lot of good results with education. People are really, really wanting to absorb online schooling as much as possible because they have all this available time. And of course, ideas to do with the kids. I know for moms, it's been very difficult staying at home without summer camp. I think an example of also inappropriate advertising is like a cruise line advertising now. And in the beginning they kept advertising and people were like, what is going on? Who's going to get on a cruise now? So that stopped. But for the first 3 weeks of the pandemic, they had some ads for travel and sandals resort. And it's like, what is happening? So take a look, authentically at your niche and decide for yourself.
It's interesting that you mentioned travel because we have a lot of travel bloggers in our community. And how are they, this is just not related to ads, but how do you create travel content right now when we're not supposed to be traveling? So
I think everyone has a bucket list. So I think you have to really prepare people for what they can do once this is over. Because nobody thinks this is going to last forever, at least, like we pray that it's not. So what I've been, because I follow a lot of travel bloggers as well, and things that are resonating with people a lot is that what's going to be your next trip? What's in your bucket list for next year? Maybe start saving for that. Maybe even some TV, like throwback Thursdays of like fun trips that people have taken in the past and things they liked, and inspiration that they had. Maybe even recreating like, oh, tonight we're going to have like Italian night in honor of Tuscany, my Tuscan trip, or, fun things that you can do without having to push travel, because people are not going to be able to travel the way that they did last year.
Right.
For the restrictions and even financial burdens that people have.
Right.
So you also want to be sensitive, you want to be present. And I think that also goes back to how to do the content right. You don't want to disappear because maybe your industry is now frozen. You want to be there. You just have to adjust your content. I think there's a travel blog that is doing a phenomenal job. I forget the name. I think it's Travel and Leisure. They've been doing so many good things, communicating how the airports are now, like the adjustments that the TSA has done, and different things, because they've done adjustments to carry like the gel and other things. So keeping people informed, because people that travel are really missing travel.
Yes. Yeah,
they really are.
I think still inspirational content is going to be really important in the travel industry.
For sure.
So something that we forgot to mention at the beginning is that if you guys have any questions along the way of anything that we're discussing, feel free to leave them in the chat and we will take them as we go along. We're not waiting until the end. So feel free, if you have any questions, add them in the chat and we'll read them out as we go along.
But we'll create a space at the end just in case for the ones.
Yes, we'll ask again at the end, absolutely. So, okay. So we talked a little bit about this at the beginning, but as content creators, we're always looking to serve our community. So how can we best find a way to help our readers and followers during a pandemic?
Like we mentioned before, the best way is to lead with, number one, empathy, and number two, with value. So you have to know where the other person is getting your content from. Absolutely, there's not a single person that has not been affected by this, like not one person on the planet. So you have to know that people are really struggling at home. Some people are having some really deep struggles. So the content that is working the best is aspirational content. And in general, in social media, positive content outperforms negative content 2-1. So if the Dear Diary moments, the eternal Dear Diaries, that's not content that is going to work particularly well nowadays because people are looking for an escape. At the same time, you want to be transparent. If you're an account and you're struggling, you're like, listen, I had a bad day, and that's great to be authentic and transparent. But if that becomes the daily content of someone, people are not going to stay following that page because they themselves are going through things. And also with value, depending on your industry, you want to be providing, let's say you are offering a service, you have to be very careful to not sell as much right now and offer more than you ask for. And it's okay to sell. You just have to be careful not to do it as often as you did before because of everything that was happening. So let's say your content was around 70% offering value and being inspirational and giving information and being entertaining, and then 30% was promotional content. They want to think about lowering that to 10% for the time being, maybe for the next month or so, and just being like very present. It's like that friend that needs you because they're going through a hard time. So you are that friend. Remember, people see you as their friends when you're on social media and when you have a public account. They think they know you. So now is the time to just really be helpful with whatever it is that you provide. If you are, if you're an entrepreneur, and then give people tips. If you are a mom, then, offer people what they can do with their kids. Travel, again, aspiration. There's so many opportunities there. So yes, just think of ways to be helpful and positive as much as you can.
Perfect. I agree.
Great.
So let's talk about captions now. Do you have any advice to write captions during the pandemic? Sometimes because there's a crisis going on, we find ourselves at a loss for words and not sure what to talk about. Do you have any advice for engaging captions right now?
Yeah, the best captions are the ones where you sound human. I keep going back to human, and where you have a point of view. So this is an interesting study that came out last month about captions that state facts versus captions that have a point of view. So you always, whatever it is that you're communicating, even if you're communicating, let's say in my case, it's social media tips, and I talk about that. I always give it a spin with a point of view that I have regarding the tip or regarding the new trend versus just stating a fact, because they can read that off of the news. So I thought that was really interesting, and I started adjusting my content, and I got like twice as much engagement by adding a point of view on my captions. So it's not just like, oh, this restaurant opened 2 weeks ago, they have great pizza. No, it's not about that. It's like, oh my God, this was my first outing and I had not had pizza like this. The owner was super warm and we want to be like supportive. You know what I mean? Like it just, again, being super connected with the audience in that way as a friend. And being a little more, like empathetic with what's happening, but not sounding like a robot, not sounding like a catalog. It's very, very important in captions. And this is a mistake that whenever I do consulting for businesses, they always make this mistake, which is they sound like a building instead of sounding like a person. So you want to sound like a person. When you're first starting out, I always do this as like, do your caption and send it to your friend. If your friend thinks like, what, why is Paola like talking to me that way? Then you know you're way too serious and way too rigid. So it has to be as if you were sending a text to your friend, to your closest friend.
Okay, perfect. Stay authentic.
Yes.
So, okay, now let's talk about looking forward a little bit. So some of us plan our content ahead, maybe even months ahead. So how do you recommend we approach content planning right now? Because when it comes to just coming up with ideas for content that we're going to be talking in the future, how far ahead should we look at? How far ahead should we be scheduling that content? What advice can you give us?
Yeah. So the best practice is to schedule ahead ahead, except for now, because everything has gone out the window. And anything that you had scheduled that you thought was a great post, maybe a picture that you worked on forever, or an amazing caption, I really recommend that you pause everything and you rethink every single thing, because every single day something is happening in this
Yes.
world and in this country. So before a post goes out, make sure that you are checking the temperature of what's happening in social media and around social media, so that you are in line with the whatever news event is taking place, whatever people want to talk about, whatever is resonating. I don't recommend that right now. We plan ahead of time, even though I'm a huge planner. So for me, it's like a nightmare. I project myself like 20 years in advance. But this has thrown everything out the door, and it just makes you work double. So I recommend that you plan, that you have ideas 2 weeks in advance, and you say, like, I think I want to talk about this and I want to post about this. And then maybe 2 days before, then you start working on it. But don't plan so far ahead. I mean, there's different like holidays that you know are going to happen, like Father's Day, which is coming up. That's fine. But different concepts or pillars that you had created, you may have to adjust. So my recommendation, which is what I'm doing and what I have my clients doing, is work with ideas 2 weeks in advance and adjust as you go. You have to refine, adjust, pivot, and go with it. Sometimes you're like working in the morning last minute at changing something because of, again, like changes that have happened in society, and you adjust. But you got to be reactive. As much as I love being proactive in social media, have to be very reactive as soon as possible with everything.
Absolutely. Okay. So now that we were talking a little bit about the future, if we were kind of putting our content on hold because of the pandemic and we weren't sure what we were supposed to post, what do you think we should do to plan like a comeback of our not completely regular content, but content that goes well, that is okay in this new normal?
Yeah, it's like a return to regular scheduled programming, right?
Exactly.
This is another interesting thing that I read. So we're in the middle of a digital transformation, which sounds very like fancy, but basically the digital transformation that has happened in the past 3 months was scheduled to happen in the next 4 years. Because of everything that has happened, it has been condensed in 3 months, which is huge for the digital industry. It's huge. So this has basically like pushed forward so many needs, and people are not having the skills. So the first thing that I recommend to plan your comeback in this digital new normal and is in this virtual world for as long as it lasts. And some things may not go back to the way they were. I'm hearing from companies, I'm not going to travel as much because I can do Zoom meetings now, like travel for business. Or, like I found out that maybe I can do things virtually. I can do like online courses. Maybe some people are like, I learned how to cut my hair. I don't need to spend time like on the hair salon, so people are just finding ways and adjusting. So the first thing is that you have to learn the skills that are going to be in demand and that are in demand right now. Those skills really tend to be more digital oriented, so that you can keep the presence with your community, whatever it is that community is. So the first thing is work on yourself, invest in yourself. This is the time, like when things come back to normal, come back with a skill set, with knowledge, with power, just a better version of yourself. So I that's the number one recommendation.
So you guys are all doing great because you're here right
now. Exactly. Some of you, the other thing is that you may have to adjust what your business offers. So I'll give you an example of event planners. I work with a lot of event planners who cannot plan events because events are canceled. So weddings, like, but mitzvahs, like physical events. So they have adjusted their business to do baskets for holidays. So a lot of my event planner friends are doing like, you know, they Mother's Day baskets, Father's Day baskets, and things like that, just to keep that presence, because they cannot just disappear. So depending on your product offering, you may have to adjust your offering or altogether create new product. So you have to be versatile in that sense. Also, again, being present. I cannot emphasize this enough. This is not the time to disappear. And let me tell you, we all have days where we don't want to do anything. It's just too much. Sometimes you wake up and you just want to scroll on your phone, or you're so overwhelmed or like stressed or tired. But I really want you guys to understand that people are also relying on you. So if you don't want to post every day, which you don't need to do, you can post once a week, is fine. At least have some presence in stories, so that people connect with you in that sense, and there's some kind of like intimacy in that way through stories. For sure, also rest. Get some rest for your comeback, and those of us that are in social media, which never rest, because there's no off day in this. You're gonna need it for when you come back. And the last thing is, try to adjust your pricing for the next month, so that people see that you're helping them too, so that people can tell that you actually are interested in helping them versus making money, because they will remember the companies and the businesses and the pages that were there for them when they were going through the hard times. It's important that this is a time to do coupons, to do offers, to do 2-for-1, to run sweepstakes as well. So make sure that you show that you are understanding, and it's not just about your business, but it's also about the other person.
Yeah, definitely. Well, that was great advice. Thank you, Carol.
Of course.
Do we have any questions from the audience? You guys,
let's see.
Place in the chat.
I love questions, so feel free. There's no wrong question. And when someone asks a question, this is when I get my glasses.
Oh.
when someone asks a question, it usually helps someone else, because some people don't like to ask questions.
Absolutely, yes.
Someone wrote, yeah, I guess tips and evergreen stuff is best right now. Yeah, for sure. Evergreen is always good. Also repurposing content, which is, like something that people underestimate, going back to your metrics, to your analytics, and seeing what content performed the best, and taking that content and posting it again with the twist of the pandemic, or with the twist of the reality that we have now. You'll be surprised how content works well again and again.
Oh, that's a great tip. Okay,
Yeah.
We have a question from Christina, and she says, I started my blog and digital presence at the beginning of the pandemic. What would you suggest to help establish a relationship during this time?
Wow, blessings to you for starting all this at the beginning of the pandemic. You started in a very challenging time. You're sort of like that college graduate that is starting to look for a job right now. So you're definitely, you don't have that air that is going to help you take off the way you would in other times. So what I say is that you have to go slow and be steady. Don't be discouraged if it feels that it takes you a little longer to establish relationships with people. Now, here's the good news for you. The activity on social media has increased so much that you have availability of people that were not available before. So you also have a lot of eyeballs, a lot of opportunities that weren't around, that have never existed, because people are stuck at home, and people are engaging and they're craving different kinds of content. And because they're using social media so much, a lot of people are getting tired of that same old accounts they follow. So they're always looking for new accounts. So I would suggest, to do some competitor research. I don't know what space you're in, Christina. If you can say what industry or what niche you're in, would be great. But definitely look at your competitors and see what you can do differently, because this might be a great opportunity for you. You are a local lifestyle in, Virginia, is that what it is?
Yes, in
Okay.
Virginia.
Okay,
So
perfect.
absolutely. I think doing competitor research, but also maybe just reaching out to local businesses in your community that you know might be struggling. So something that I'm a local lifestyle in the city of Coral Gables. Something that I did is I saw a lot of restaurants were struggling because they had to shut down their restaurant, but they were open for deliveries and pickup at the very beginning of the pandemic, because we started actually opening restaurants down here. But just trying to put the word, help amplify that they're open. So I was like finding businesses that were open, that were telling that this is our new menu. Some restaurants switched from restaurants to grocery stores because people were having trouble. There was toilet paper running out, and they had access to toilet paper. So if you can find a way to help everyone. So by me promoting that this restaurant became a grocery store that had toilet paper available at that time, where everyone was so stressed out about that, that was a great way to deliver value to the restaurant and to the people in my community to start establishing that relationship with them. So you have to, that competitor research that Carol is talking about is to try to find those opportunities for you to really just, when we say deliver value, is really help either businesses or your community members.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah, businesses are going to be so grateful if you just like drive around and start contacting businesses and then doing little features about them. Everyone appreciates that. The business appreciates that, and also the local community appreciates that. I still find out about things around my area because of blogs like Paola's. I don't know all the stores. Sometimes a store will be featured and I'm like, oh, that's cute. Like I didn't know that was around. So
Right.
yeah, for sure.
Definitely. So
I see Naomi's, yeah.
we have another question from Naomi, and she says, I am taking care of my clients' social medias, which are restaurants. They want me to post promotional stuff every day, but I thought it's too commercial. Do you think behind the scene content would be good? For example, post about their staff and their chefs and their recipes. Any tips for restaurants would be appreciated.
Mm-hmm. You're right on the money, Naomi. Your instinct, your social media instinct is really, really good. Yes, it's way too promotional to be posting offers every day for restaurants. And as much as restaurants really need the help, posting offers is going to have the opposite effect. So yes, you want to post, like if they have like a new menu and offers every so often, but the first thing, the behind the scenes stuff. Like what are people doing, the staff? You'll be surprised how much that connects. Content that related to recipes. The restaurants do very, very well with texture content. And that means, let's say they are creating a drink. So you do a soup, like the drink on a boomerang rolling, or maybe like the sauce pouring. You will be surprised how well that type of content does. That's called that type of content just transmits like something that you can never say in words. So you have a very visual industry, which is amazing. So I would suggest, if you're doing this as a job, to create a content mix where you have maybe 4 pillars, and you say, okay, we're going to talk about offers, but we're also going to talk about the staff. We're also going to talk about, and this should be mentioned, what you're doing to keep the restaurant safe so that people come back to the restaurant, because people have a lot of concerns. It's like, hey guys, this is all we're doing. We have up like our, basically our staff to make sure, and we're starting an hour early to clean everything. And then those recipes that like look delicious to get people really excited with what you have to offer. But yeah, God bless restaurants.
Yeah, right.
Because they've been hit hard, and they have
really hard.
My heart goes out.
So
yeah.
Tough. But something interesting things that I've seen local restaurants in my community doing is they switched up the menu so that people could buy meal kits.
Mm-hmm.
So like one of their most popular dishes is like pasta carbonara, and they sold it in family meal kits so that, maybe you don't feel comfortable going into the restaurant, but you can still have that delicious taste and you can cook it right at home. And that had even news coverage because that was so popular. And also talking about like really spotlighting as your staff, and maybe even sharing some recipes that they can try at home. That has been content that has worked well.
Exactly.
So we have another question in the same topic, and it's from Maria, and she says, "Hi, I'm a recipe developer, and I also post restaurant recommendations. How should I approach brands or restaurants to collaborate and do giveaways, for example?"
I think brand and restaurants would be thrilled to be promoted by giving giveaways. I think your approach has to be that you actually want to get the word out there for them. So they'd be, yeah, go ahead.
So it's actually quite delicate trying to approach restaurants right now for a collaboration, because they're hurting so much that having influencers reach out to them for free food or anything is just an additional expense. But the other side of that coin is that they need to market, because they need to remind people that they're still there. So I recommend, if you are going to approach a restaurant, that first you deliver goodwill first. So if I would not approach them first, the first thing that you do as your interaction with that restaurant is to ask them to do a collaboration or a giveaway. The first thing I would do is maybe if they have their social media, what it is that they're trying to promote, if you can amplify that and tag them. Most restaurants, when you reshare their new menu item, if they're doing pickup or whatever, and you reshare it, they will immediately text you and say, "Thank you so much. You don't know how much you've helped us." So building that goodwill, especially right now before contacting them, is super important. Maybe you want to also order from that restaurant and take a picture and create your own content.
I was just gonna say that. I was gonna say you're gonna have to show the work that you do before just showing up and saying like, "Hey, like let's give me free food for a giveaway or something." So
absolutely.
Or go there if they're open and do stories and.
Right. So definitely, I think in the past, I think restaurants were more open to working with influencers that they didn't know before, just like with a cold call. But right now, the climate, restaurants are really hurting. They're really upset with like the food delivery services, because they're taking so many percentage out of their out of the bill, and it's just a really difficult situation. So as Carol suggested, I definitely recommend you build a goodwill first before you broach that topic. But they will probably also be very receptive to it, because they are trying to get their word out that they're still open. So good luck, Maria. All righty.
So you're a recipe developer. I have never heard that. That's very interesting.
I have. That is really cool.
As someone that doesn't cook, I'm thrilled by anybody that develops a recipe.
All right. So we have another question from Stephanie, and she says, "What tips would you recommend for new digital marketers starting their own company in regards to signing on new clients?"
Is this the Stephanie that I know?
I believe so.
I think so. It's yes. Hi, Stephanie. Okay. I believe we've talked about this with Stephanie before, but just so that everyone knows, when you start a business and you're talking about starting your own company to offer services, it's a little bit like what Paola just said with the restaurants, which is you're going to have to lead by offering before. Now, starting a company without a network from scratch, offering services, is going to take a little bit of time, and you're going to have to do some pro bono services before you start charging. That's usually what happens, if you can start finding clients without having anything to show for, that is, wow, more power to you. But usually people ask for reviews, people ask for a portfolio, so that they will pay you. People are going to be like very skeptical about hiring you and paying you in advance without seeing who you have worked for in the past. So usually social media coaches, social media managers, digital marketing consultants, you have to start by offering a lot of work and doing a lot of work for very little money to start building that authority and that trust. And then you can start charging more. If you really love what you do, you would love doing it. You can't, you don't do it for the money. Otherwise you are going to be very frustrated very quickly. And eventually then you can start charging more, but it's sort of like a celebrity. The first film you're probably going to do for free because you want to be in a film so much. And then eventually people start charging more. But I would go out so that you start building a portfolio, like go to your friends. It's like, hey, listen, do you have a social media account maybe I can help you with? And that way you can start putting things on your website. People are going to want to see reviews and going to want to see who you worked with in the past before building clients. The clients are not going to come just because you set up a company. It takes time. It takes time, but it can be done. But know that's the best path that I can recommend to you. Does that answer your question, Stephanie? I don't know if that's what you want to hear, but that's that's what I can tell you.
That's great advice. You definitely
Stephanie
have
has
to
a
build a portfolio.
because you guys are she's helping you with your account. So
She has the Blogger Union in her portfolio.
she has a Blogger Union. She has a beautiful smile and she's very charismatic. So yeah, you have to start doing little work here and there so that people can start giving you reviews on your Facebook page or on your
testimonials.
Yeah, testimonials is what people use to actually push a sale.
Absolutely. We have another question. We have lots of questions.
I love it.
From Adriana, and she's asking, I have a home decor blog, and during the pandemic, I started posting content related to food and cocktail styling. I've lost followers during this time because I don't see the need to rearrange my house just for a post.
That's it. Okay, so let me get this straight. You have a home decor, but you switched up your content mix during the pandemic to do food and cocktail styling, which is different from what you were doing before. Is that more or less?
Yes.
Adriana? Okay. And you lost followers because of that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, when you switch up your branding like that, you're going to lose followers. That is no matter what you do, because followers expect something from you. We're following a content strategy that you kind of like shifted dramatically, because home decor, and I love home decor, what a cool space to be in, and switching up to cocktail styling is not necessarily in line. If that's what you want to do, the path that you want to take, keep it at food and cocktail styling, then that's fine. Know that you will lose some followers and then you're going to gain some new followers eventually in that space. If you want to stay in the home decor space, you have to stick to home decor. Because people don't like the shift in personality, like the schizophrenic like feed, where one day is home decor, the next day is like financial advice, the next day is about babies. People like a page where they know what to expect, because there's so much uncertainty already that they don't want that from a page. So that's a decision that you're going to have to make. Yes, you may have to rearrange your house just for a post if you're just doing your post. But you can also do a lot of like inspirational places. Does it have to be your house? Do you always do your house, or do you do like styling, like things that you like, that reposting in home decor works very well.
So definitely, I agree with Carol. I think switching up a completely different niche, what you're starting to offer your previous followers, is definitely making them unfollow you. But if you do want to stick with home decor, inspirational content is a great advice. But then also back to what we were talking about, how to deliver value of what people are struggling with right now. So for example, a lot of people are working from home. So maybe you don't have to reorganize your whole house, but you can do a post about how you set up your home office and how you're working from home. And I think a lot of people would definitely resonate with that. Also, for example, we're seeing a lot of people start to grow vegetable gardens during the pandemic. So, maybe you can have like a selection of how you set up some really cute pots on the windowsill, so that you could grow herbs, your cilantro and your mint by the window. So just trying to find a way to thread it. And maybe if your content used to be like these beautiful styled like shots of homes, maybe trying to make it smaller projects now so that you don't have to rearrange your entire house for the content, but it's still in the vein of home decor and you don't veer off so much. Because if you're temporarily going to post about food and cocktails, and then once the pandemic is over, you switch back to home decor, then those people you gained for food and cocktails are going to leave.
Right.
And you're going to have that problem again.
Right. Yeah, for sure. And I don't know if I've seen this. I follow a lot of home decor accounts that they post a lot about their homes, but every so often they post inspirational content that's in line with the type of decor that they have at their homes. So I don't know if you are able to do this or not, but it's also great to maybe switch it up that way. Things that you like, that where do you find inspiration from to decorate your house? What is it? Is it more like Mediterranean? Is it more classic? Is it more minimalistic? And then maybe use that as aspirational content as well, but that's still in line.
Absolutely. Or maybe you can start talking about the process of how a room comes together when you're redecorating it. So that you're still in the same universe. You're just talking a little bit differently about it. But right. That's great advice. Thank you, Carol.
No, thank you.
All righty. So we have a question from Tanaka, and she says, they say, is it okay to pay 50% to a partner with companies? I keep
to partner with companies.
Are you talking about affiliate marketing? Not really sure.
Yeah,
if you could give us a little more info, Tanaka.
I had the same question. I wasn't sure what that meant.
Adriana said, great advice, thank you. And Barbara saying, yeah, home office space for homeschooling. Oh yes, I've seen a lot of people buy tiny desks for their kids. It's so cute.
Totally.
How to set up your background room or room for Zoom chats. That's all great advice. Thank you, Barbara.
Did you see this guy that his wife missed the office so much that he recreated like a mini office in the house, and he even put like this paper on the microwave, like do not microwave fish, and he put like a birthday card on top of the like counter saying like, oh, it's John's birthday, make sure you sign. Like it was just like all around the office, and it was at their home, and it was just so cute. It was so relevant and current, and
that's adorable.
Yeah.
So yeah, you come around at 3 o'clock with your little coffee break and you're set.
Exactly.
All righty.
Exactly.
So I think that was the last question. So Tanaka is asking, so we can't be versatile. So I think you were addressing when we were talking, trying to respond to Adriana's question about home decor and switching to food and cocktail. So I don't know if you want to take it first.
Yeah. So it's really not about versatility, but it's more about consistency. So of course we are all as human beings completely versatile. We can be, and as women, we can be entrepreneurs and moms, and we can be cool and we can, be dog lovers. But when it comes to social media, once you define what your content pillars are going to be, which have to be defined, and I cannot address this enough, because this is the number one mistake people make. They make their social media about everything. And it's like, advice about taxes, and it's also about the horoscope, but it's also about cooking, but it's about my baby, and it's also that I do my nails, but I'm also a realtor. And it's just like, that doesn't work. That's not the kind of content mix that would work on social media. So you have to, once you have trained your following and you have built the following, most importantly, your following deserves the respect to keep offering that kind of content. Let's say, for example, and this happens a lot more with women, that they are entrepreneurs or they have a brand or whatever, and they have a baby. So they start posting about the baby. They tend to lose followers because some people don't want to see things about the baby, and then they gain new followers from moms. So that's kind of like, that would be like a natural evolution for your account. Now, if I do social media and tomorrow I start posting recipes, it's going to be very confusing for my audience, because my followers are entrepreneurs and business owners. So, and also I have no idea about cooking. So it would be, it would be awful. But you know what I mean? It has taken me 3 years to build this community, which takes so long. And you all know this. It takes so long to build every single follower, to build engagement, to get people to respond. So you want to offer them that consistency.
Definitely. So, okay, so we got clarification from Tanaka, and they're talking about companies that want to partner with them as an influencer, but they're asking you to purchase products first at a discount. So I
have never heard
that.
of that.
Is not normal.
No,
it
never.
Actually, unfortunately, it's a new trend that companies are trying to try to get new customers by approaching influencers to buy their products so that they can get a commission and stuff like that. And that's not the way affiliate marketing works. Affiliate marketing, they give you a discount, and hopefully you already purchased their product in the past and you already trust their product, and you establish a relationship where if someone purchases their products through your link or your promo code, that you get a commission. But you don't have to purchase products from them when they approach you out of the blue and they tell you, go buy my products with this promo code, and then you might be able to get a discount or a commission. They're just trying to get you to buy their products. It's like a sleazy marketing technique.
It sounds very scammy, and you have to be careful. That's not really how influencer marketing works. In influencer marketing, brands want to pay you, and if they can't pay you, they give you the product for free, always. So I have never heard of this. Be very aware. Beware of whoever's reaching you. No, don't do it.
So, and then there's also like big affiliate networks, right? So like if you join Reward Style or Amazon or whatever, where you can literally go anywhere of their websites and create an affiliate link. So if maybe you purchased, that little mixer on Amazon and you want to promote it so that people can buy that mixer and you get a commission, then those are legit programs.
Exactly.
But yeah, when you get an offer out of the blue and they're like, we want to partner with you if you spend money with us, that is not legit. So stay clear of them. You're welcome, Tanaka.
Yeah, Brenda has had the same offer. I have never heard of this. It's very new to me. If anything, influencers are getting paid more, but never to be asked to pay for half.
So yeah, unfortunately, they're all of these companies that are kind of trying to prey on influencers and offering all these weird services to try to make money off of influencers, like that they'll grow your social media account.
You have to be careful who approaches you on Instagram.
That they'll grow your social media account, that they're verify your social media account, all of these things that are very fishy. So I think
absolutely
that was our last question. I want to thank you so much, Carla, for Carol, for joining us. And do you have anything that is coming up that you like?
Don't forget to follow me on the Digital Buzz. I'll write it here that way, because it's not the bus as in as in the school bus, so that you can be on the lookout for the algorithm training. Is going to be really cool because you're going to be able to understand how to work with the algorithm to have higher posts under your reach, to have better engagement, and to understand what is it that the platforms want from you, so you can work around that. But there's so many different hacks that is going to be amazing. So this was great. Thank you, Paola, for putting this together. And to everyone here, keep doing the great work. I have loved being here and answering your questions and seeing all this activity, and know that you can always reach me on my page. I'm very available. So feel free, if you have a question, to reach out. I would love to hear from you guys.
Thank you so much for joining us and sharing all of your insights with us. And thank you everyone who joined us for the call. I think our very next webinar next week is about how to start your newsletter. So make sure you check out the Blogger Union Instagram so that you can see all the details. And we'll see you next week. I hope everyone has a wonderful week. Bye.
Bye.